Okay, moving on from the rectangle problems, let's try a triangle problem. Yeah, give yourself a round of applause if you saw that one coming. Okay, reminder about triangles, and we can derive this together, but for right now it should be familiar that the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So if I gave you this triangle, remember the height, drop it down from the top to the bottom side. It makes a right angle. That's how you know it's the height. Height is also sometimes referred to as altitude. They are interchangeable terms. And usually we're going to call it h. Now the base is going to be this side, the side of the triangle that's laying on the ground. And so the area is 1/2 base times height. Like I said, we can derive that together, but I'm not going to leave that on a video for you. Let's say you were told that you have a triangle where the base is 8 more than twice the height, and the area is 60 square feet. Keep dealing with feet here. How would you solve this? Idea is the same as the rectangle problems. Step number 1, make your diagram. We have a diagram, great. We have our information indicated, and let's turn it into an equation. 1/2 base times height equals 60. That's what we're told. And we're told, obviously, h is the height. But what's the base? What are the dimensions of the base? Let's look at the wording. 8 more than, so there's a +8, twice the height. 2h. Great. Let's drop stuff in. 1/2 times 2h plus 8 times h equals 60. Pretty straightforward. Replace the b with the 2h plus 8 because that's our definition. Nothing fancy there. We know the area of a triangle has that half out front, and h is h because that's just the height. Now at this point, to solve it, you have a few options. Option number 1, is to multiply both sides by 2. Get rid of the fraction. That's option number 1. We've talked about the value and finding ways to get rid of fractions because sometimes fractions can be a distraction and lead you to errors, and we do what we can to avoid that. Option number 2, if you'd like, is to just distribute. Now, one thing that we're going to do on the black over here, let's rewrite this. Usually you're seeing variables on the left of the parentheses. Our friend the bell. Usually we are used to seeing variables on the left of the parentheses. We can rewrite it. Commutative property. I can write the multiplication in any order that I want. We're going to do that over here too. You don't have to, but if you prefer that, absolutely take that option. So now over here, Let's distribute. 1/2 h times 2h plus 1/2 h times 8 equals 60. Now I put these in parentheses not because I have to, but because I think it'll look clearer and that everybody can see exactly what I'm doing. So now 1/2 times h times 2 times h. The 1/2 and the 2 cancel out and give me a 1. H times h is x squared. Half times 8 is 4. And now this is starting to look pretty familiar. H squared plus 4h minus 60 equals 0. You can start thinking about two numbers that have a product of 60 and a sum of 4. And I'm going to switch back to the black over here. I'm going to distribute. I get 2h squared plus 8h equals 120. Subtract 120 from both sides. And I get 2h squared plus 8h minus 120. Hopefully you're seeing that there's a 2 common to everything here. And if I divide everything by 2, or factor out a 2, as we do with expressions, same thing. I have this h squared plus 4h minus 60, both on the red and the black. Because these methods are equivalent, they just look a little different in some of the intermediate steps. Okay, so by now, hopefully you've realized that the two numbers that we need are a 10 and a -6. H plus 10 times h minus 6 equals 0. H plus 10 equals 0, so h equals -10 plus, what's a plus sign? Sorry, almost skipped a step. H minus 6 equals 0. H equals 6. Two possible answers. Are they both really possible? H equals -10. Can I have a negative height? No. No, I cannot. So I need to throw that out. And now if I plug in 6 for my height, what's my base? 2 times 6 is 12. 12 plus 8 is 20. A triangle with dimensions 6 for the height and 20 for the base, does that have an area of 120? Of 60? 1/2 times 6 times 20 equals 1/2 of 120 equals 60. I did it right. Okay? The procedure is the same. The formula is the same. The diagram, the equations, the variable definitions, creating an equation, solving the equation, checking the answers. All the same. Okay? The only difference here, you had a different formula because it was a triangle and not a rectangle. And let's take a look at one more triangle type problem, and that involves right triangles. This area that I gave you, area is 1/2 base times height. That formula is true for all triangles. Area is 1/2 base times height for all triangles. Now,